question is, why did the war start?
Welcome to Landlords and Tenants, What to Know and How to Win, with your host, attorney Niv Davidovich. In the Landlords and Tenants podcast, you'll learn from property owners as they share their experiences, aimed to help shape and educate people's practices. What has worked, what has not worked. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, davidovichtlaw.com. Now here's the host of Landlords and Tenants, Niv Davidovich.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Niv Davidovich. Welcome to episode 2 of our new podcast entitled Landlords and Tenants, What to Know, How to Win. I'm hoping to provide our audience with helpful tips, insightful war stories, updates on the law, and also unique perspectives on the real estate industry, landlord-tenant relationships, and I hope some entertaining tales which should assuage you that whatever your landlord-tenant nightmare might be, trust me, someone has it worse. So today my guest is an amazing client and a veteran in the LA real estate game, Mark Weinstein, the founder and president of MJW Investments, a prominent real estate investment and management firm. Over the course of 35 years, MJW Investment has acquired over 5 million square feet of real estate investments and looks for locational advantages in markets that have high barriers to entry, a diverse employment base, and strong demographics. In 2007, MJW expanded into the student housing market, where experience in hospitality, customer service, innovative design, and multi-use complexes brought success with the sector. Now MJW Investments represents a diverse portfolio consisting of multifamily, student housing, retail, triple net, and ground leases with an estimated value in excess of $1.5 billion. Throughout his career, Mark maintains active associations and leadership with numerous civic and philanthropic groups. These include a 3-year term as chair of the Jewish Federation's Real Estate Construction Division, serving as the chair of the Real Estate Division and LA Council for APAC, and active associations with the Young Presidents Organization, the Guardians, which is an agency dedicated to serving the elderly. So first, Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's a big honor to have you on. And also, I wanted to tell you, I do a lot of work with your staff. You have a great staff. I love working with them. They're very professional, very knowledgeable, and just all around nice people. So whatever you're putting in the coffee, I'd keep buying it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think the thing most people would be interested in, and I'm the most interested in, is how'd you do it? How'd you get to a place where 35 years in, you're a majority owner of more than $1 billion of real estate? Can it still be done? How'd you get started?
I got started in law school, actually. When I was in law school, I convinced a bunch of students that were in school to give me their student loan money or their work money to buy a building. So we bought a 5-unit building in kind of outside Koreatown, not too far from the school. And so that's how I got started. And then after that, I started buying apartment buildings. I passed the bar, became a lawyer, and for 2 years I practiced law, but I was still buying deals. So I started buying apartment buildings, and then it grew from there.
When was that?
Oh boy, you're asking me these personal questions.
Sorry.
That's all right. It was 1983.
So now we're a few years down the road. The LA market's changed. You were only buying in LA at the time, right?
Yeah, in the beginning, it was LA, and I think I did some in Sacramento, but LA and Sacramento, I think.
So given where prices are now and kind of the high, barrier to entry, is that something people can still do starting at that kind of a entry-level point?
I think it's a little bit harder now. Things cost a lot more money. There wasn't as much technology then, so pricing was inefficient. So you could get a good deal easier then than you can now, because there's so much information out there. And when someone's selling a property, it's even if it's not marketed, it's marketed, and so it's harder to get a good deal nowadays.
Right. So as a person who's still buying, I assume, how is it that you get good deals? How do you go out there and look for bargains?
Well, I think it's relationship based, and so we've been doing this for a really long time, and brokers know that you perform, and you're always calling different people that you want to do business with, just so that you're last in their mind. And you have to be able to move quickly. One of the things is, we've closed deals in 10 days, and a lot of people aren't able to do that. And so that's given us a competitive advantage, and that we always perform gives us a competitive advantage, and that we have a long history doing it gives us a competitive advantage.
Right. And so you're able to do a deal in 10 days because you're closing cash and then refinancing later?
Yeah.
Right. So if someone is not really at that level yet, what sort of advice do you give someone who's just looking to get in?
You got to start somewhere, but you should be. You make all your money on the buy, so you should focus on buying it right. And now the challenge is, can you get a loan?
Right.
And that's a very challenging thing. I guess the good news is that if you're able to get a loan, it's probably a pretty good property, because the lender, in this environment, likes it enough. Or you're paying a higher interest rate in the beginning to get it going, and then you refinance later. The challenge is that you got to make sure you can refinance later.
Right. So obviously you expanded beyond LA over time. Do you now buy deals in LA at all, or are you focused more on just out of state?
Mostly out of state. We own a bunch of stuff in LA, but as you know, because you work with us, but with all the rent control laws and all the eviction moratorium stuff, we got a little bit spooked by LA a little, even though I think there's still opportunities here. Just that we were concerned. The regulatory environment really concerns us, and we're in the state of Washington where the regulatory environment is starting to scare us. And a lot of the other places we are in Utah, it's not regulatory. I think even in Atlanta, it's not very regulatory. So we've tried to go to markets that aren't as regulatory as California.
So you obviously talk to a lot of other people who are probably in your same level, who are also people who are in LA. Are you seeing other people who are sort of transitioning out of LA and only looking to other markets also because of those reasons?
Yes, a lot of my peers are, for the first time, even some of them are looking out of state.
Wow. Okay. So where are they going other than Atlanta or Utah?
Arizona, Colorado, places like that. They're just states where there's less regulation. Colorado's starting to get some regulation, so it's not as safe, but they're going to different places. And some people that worked for me before moved to Denver altogether from LA, and is buying a lot in Denver and in Texas and Austin, Texas, and other places.
Do you think Texas, there's still juice to squeeze?
I think you have to be careful. Dallas has a lot of ups and downs. Austin's overbuilt,
Right.
But I suppose if you're in it for the long run, it's probably still in good locations. It's probably still good opportunity.
You do anything in Florida? You see any?
I don't do anything in Florida because of the taxes. The taxes is one thing, but the insurance. The insurance. If you think insurance is high in LA, it's double or triple in Florida. It's very arbitrary, and so we've never really understood how to underwrite a deal in Florida, because the insurance, as we predicted, has gone up exponentially compared to everything else, and our insurance has gone up a lot, but Florida is really bad.
And that's because of the hurricanes?
Hurricanes, yeah.
Right. So basically you're saying you have to look in places that don't have a history of regular natural disasters.
Right. And again, I think there probably are opportunities in Florida, just that we just kind of didn't pick one of those markets.
Do you see any cities or states that are sort of up and coming that people haven't thought about yet? Because, like, for example, Idaho went through this whole big boom. Texas went through this whole big boom.
I was going to say Boise, Idaho is definitely a good place. And places in Iowa are, the challenge is that the growth's not going to be as much, but you can get some cash flow, maybe in Iowa and other places like that. Maybe some people like New Mexico. I don't particularly like it, but they say they can get cash flow in New Mexico. So really, I think the biggest thing is you got to learn your market. You got to know the market. You have to read up on it. You got to go and kick the tires there, talk to a lot of brokers, talk to property management companies. You can't just go into a market arbitrarily. You got to do your research.
And when you do that, how do you enter a market? What's your process?
Well, we like to be able to buy a bunch of properties in a particular market, The first thing we do is we find, if our property management companies that we use can't go there, we find a local management company, maybe it's a national company, but they have local presence. We interview a bunch of them, and we get referrals from people we know, and we check references. And so we start dialogues with management companies before we ever go into the new market. And then we go to the market, meet the brokers, meet the management companies. And usually when we buy something in the new market, the management company is hand in hand with us, it's going through the due diligence with us. So we can really see if they're going to be the right fit. We generally think they will be, but we like them to be involved from the time we make our offer going forward.
Got it. And as we mentioned in the intro, you're not just doing multifamily, you also have commercial, triple net.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of KFC, Taco Bell's triple net. That was something we bought 2005, and there's a portfolio. And then we're building a self-storage project in Chicago area right now that is really doing well. We're under budget quite a bit, and we're leasing up at a good pace. So we're doing one of those. But mostly it's student housing and multifamily is what we focus on.
Right. So let's talk about student housing. You entered that in 2007. Do you still see that as a very promising asset class?
Well, it's kind of recession resilient. So when things aren't going well, people tend to stay in school. And when things are going well, if it's a good school, they're going to be there too. And in fact, during the pandemic, we had a lot of collection issues in our multifamily, but we didn't have any of those problems in student housing. People were paying even when they weren't there, and they were really eager to get back as soon as they could to the schools because of the social life, the sports, just the whole experience. The schools that we pick usually are great athletic schools, pedestrian to campus, and research universities, tier 1 universities, and it's places that people want to be at, and that's why we picked them in the first place. And so when the pandemic happened, some people moved out initially, but they all wanted to come back.
Do you create partnerships with the school? How do you kind of make sure that the people who are coming in are actual students?
That's a good question. We work with the schools. We don't make a partnership, but we work with the school, the housing departments, to recruit people or to be referred to students. But generally, we just check the people out. And there are some non-students that live at some of our buildings. As we vet them out to make sure they're not going to be a problem. But mostly it's 100% students at our properties.
Are you seeing any opportunities in different markets at around different schools that might not be readily knowledgeable to people?
Right now, we're at the University of Michigan, University of Illinois, major universities where there's no secret sauce. For instance, there's University of Tennessee, a school we stayed away from for a while, is doing really well. They're leasing up really fast, but we've never been in that market. But that's a market that I know it's done well. And there's a lot of data on the markets and how they're doing, and you read all about how they performed in the past, what their pipeline is for new. The biggest thing is the pipeline for new development, because it might be good today, but it changes when they're going to overbuild. So do you really want to be there when they overbuild? You're good the first year or two, but then they have 5,000 beds coming on, and you're suddenly in a soft market.
Got it. Do you do a lot of building, or is it mostly just buying things that are already built?
In the past, we've done a lot of buying existing and doing rehabs to them, and we're tending to go to nicer properties now that are newer, that don't have the need for such big renovations, because there's the risk-adjusted return for the ones that have heavy lift is not enough to make it worth doing those, and the ones that are newer or more modern, they tend to be good long-term holds, and in this environment, you can still get a good deal on them.
Okay. So bringing it back to LA and California, as you said, it's become very challenging for landlords, and primarily because of the regulations. You've been here for a long time. I'm sure you've seen some of the ups and downs. Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel?
I still believe in being an owner long-term in LA. I'm not going to sell my portfolio, but I'm just concerned. And if we found something that was large enough that was near our properties, we would consider buying it. So we're not completely out of the market, but we're not really seriously looking. Something, a call comes on our lap, and one of the brokers I have a relationship with who says, "Hey, Mark, this would be a great deal for you. It's on your block." We would take a run at it, and but we'd be very mindful that the things we used to do with tenants, getting them out, paying them to leave, is much more challenging now, and so we can't bank on that. So you have to underwrite the deal as if nothing's going to change, just normal turnover, and so you just have to be more careful how you underwrite.
But in terms of the future, do you see it ever getting any better, or is it just going to continue? In your opinion, do you think it's just going to continue to get worse?
What we say better, like better in what way?
From the regulations and the rent control and the state stuff. I mean, they're forcing everyone out. So do you think
I don't think they really care about the landlords, and the city council has a makeup that's very socialistic on it right now. And I'm very concerned about the city council in a lot of different ways, a lot of different positions they take that have nothing to do with LA, and just different things. It troubles me. I used to be really involved in politics in downtown when I was doing development downtown, and I converted a bunch of office buildings into residential. So I was very involved with the mayor, with the council, city council, and sometimes I thought, oh, some of these people aren't that good. Now, as I look back, every one of them was a superstar compared to what we're dealing with now. I mean, it's just a totally different world of who's getting elected, and their experience level is so low compared to the experience level of the people I used to work with. Right. I'm troubled with the political aspects of the LA, and so I don't see in the foreseeable future the regulatory environment getting any better.
Wow. So compared to the other places where you said where it's not quite as difficult, here an eviction average time is 6 months. How long does it take to do an eviction, say, in Utah?
A month.
Wow.
2 months, maybe 2 months. But Atlanta is really bad. Atlanta is worse than LA. Atlanta takes a year.
Really?
Yeah. So there's a whole backup there, and it's a whole big thing. So there's a lot of delinquency and a lot of evictions there. In Seattle, it takes quite a long time too.
Right.
Around probably similar to LA.
Right. So Seattle's and Washington, they have their own stuff, but Atlanta's, I don't think they have rent control. So
they don't. But just the sheriff and the court system, everything's backed up, and so they're just not processing this stuff.
Wow. Okay. I did not know that. All right. It's very interesting. So other than the things we've talked about today, what do you feel like is the biggest challenge facing property owners and property managers today?
I think the regulatory environment is one of the big things, and also skyrocketing expenses as they're dealing with all this rent control stuff. They're also dealing with these insurance is doubled and tripled for some people,
right? And
utilities are way up, and the whole overall operating cost of a building is really high. And the challenge with property management is they're not aligned with you. They're not, unless they've invested in the property with you, which we like. If the property management company invests with us, they're more aligned with us. Unless they've invested with you, they spend as little time as possible to get the job done, and you want them to spend more time. And in a challenging environment, that doesn't work. In the past, when it wasn't so challenging, if property management didn't spend as many hours on the asset, it worked out okay. But now, if you don't have them aligned with you, it's more challenging with these high expenses and all these regulatory issues. You really need a property management company that is hands-on, and a lot of people like ourselves manage ourselves in Los Angeles. We're thinking about doing it in other markets, but right now it's only Los Angeles, and it works a lot better, and we're able to control expenses a lot better being hands-on.
Right. So I was about to ask you, how do you control those expenses? There's got to be something you can do. And so you're saying one of the ways is to just cut out the property manager.
Yeah, not that the property management companies, can't be good, but our experiences, we haven't found many good ones. Like our one that do our student housing in Utah is really good because they're based there, and they're good for Utah, and they're good for some other places too, but they're particularly good for Utah because that's their home base. Mm-hmm. And but when you have a national portfolio, these companies aren't going to be good everywhere. And and locally, it's, I don't really know who I would recommend as a property management company. I'm sure there's some good ones, but I just don't know them. And I think managing yourself, you can control expenses, you can shop your insurance better, you can shop all the vendors. You get several bids every year. You should shop your vendors, to see how you can cut expenses down. Also, with water consumption, there's a lot of things you can do to get alerts that if you have a leak in your building, and all these things are really important, because if you have a leak, if a toilet's even running, especially if you're doing an eviction, for example, they don't care about the property, so they'll let toilets run. It's $1,000 sometimes a month just for a running toilet for water.
Well, I think sometimes they'll just turn the water on in the tub on purpose.
Yeah.
Just to be a pain in the butt.
Right, exactly.
We've heard a lot of.
Sure, you know about all that from your evictions.
Yes, we are definitely in the battlefield, in the war all the time.
You've done a great job for us. I'm really happy with the evictions you've done. You've gotten people out in as best timely basis as possible, and you help educate us on how to win. So it's good.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and that's what we're trying to help people understand and help people do. So, talking about tenants, in your mind, what's the worst tenant story you ever had? How did it resolve?
We just had some crazy people that lived in the buildings. And they were like making leaks that went into the units below, and just causing all kinds of havoc. They wouldn't let us in their units, and eventually we had to settle with them because just was going on and on. And so we went to court, I think, and we settled with them just to get rid of the people. So there's no appeals, there's no anything. It's just we had to make a business decision. It's better to pay this person something to leave than to keep on going at this.
Right. And that's a conversation I have to have with landlords all the time, is that as soon as they tell me, they come in and they say, well, no, I want to fight with them on principle. As soon as they hear the word principle,
that's bad.
That's very bad. That means they're not making a business decision.
Yeah, you got to make a business decision.
Yeah, you got to keep the emotions out of it, basically.
Yep.
Right. Do you find that that's something you had to kind of work on over time?
Yeah, I just don't. I won't get involved in the details of the stuff because I'll get upset. So I let the staff handle it, and they do a good job. And they come to me and they say, "What do you think?" And I'm a little bit removed, so I'm just making the decision. Yeah, pay him or settle or whatever. I mean, it bothers us sometimes. Like we'll be really bothered because the person really took advantage of us. They didn't pay for 2 years, and it's crazy and it's hard. But you still want to get them out, so you make the hard decision.
Right. So, in terms of your daily activities at this stage in your career, what are you mostly doing? Currying investors, looking for new trades, admin, all the above?
Well, I do a lot of philanthropy. So I spend a portion of my time in the various philanthropic things that I do.
Right.
I spend some time with investors. We have high net worth and family offices that invest alongside us. And I'm very involved in YPO, Young Presidents Organization. I'm in a lot of different groups. I used to be the head of the multifamily for that organization for 4 years, and I put on a big conference in Santa Monica every year. And so I just involved with investors, involved with looking at the investments that we're looking at. There hasn't been that many, and we're starting to look at them again. We're not ready to buy them, but we're looking at them, underwriting them, and it's getting closer. And so we do that, and I just more of a strategist for the company, and we have a lot of strategy meetings, and I'm involved in that and kind of big picture stuff.
How did you make time for all of these extracurricular activities? Because it sounds like this would be 3 full-time jobs.
Well, because I'm passionate about it, and when I was really, really busy and I was doing even more stuff, it just worked. And also, I was single for a long time. I didn't get married till later, and so I did a lot of my big time commitments before I got married and had kids. And now I'm still picking and choosing stuff and doing quite a few things. And I write more checks now than I do volunteer my time. Right. But I have a business plan. So which things I focus. I don't get involved in everything and write checks to everything because I get asked by a million people. I try to figure out what my core values are with philanthropy, and I stick with that.
What are those core values that you use to decide who gets your time and money?
Well, going to camp, I got a scholarship going to Jewish overnight camp. And so I got really involved in Camp Hetz Kramer, which actually burned down in the fire. And so I'm helping rebuild that. And the Jewish Federation, is kind of like the safety net for people in Los Angeles for all the different needs that people have. And so I've been involved in that really for a really long time. And then some of the other organizations maybe deal with the elderly and just different things that I value, that where I think an organization is really lean and mean, and they get the job done, and not that much money is going to overhead. They're efficient with the money. Those are the kind of things that I look for.
Do you feel like a lot of the philanthropy has contributed to your business ventures, and then the business ventures contribute to the philanthropy? It kind of works together.
Definitely, the business ventures went to the philanthropy, but I definitely got some. One of the deals that I got through friends in philanthropy was I bought 10 high-rise buildings in downtown LA, and we converted them to like a Soho of downtown, and with the 500 units and 100,000 feet of retail and 2 creative office buildings, and it built a parking structure. And that project all came about by knowing somebody from charity and getting the call and moving quickly, and it turned out to be a really great project for us.
Wow, that's great. I think that's great advice for people to know. That's also, a lot of how I got started, and I met you at APAC.
Right. And one thing, and you were good at APAC, that is not great, is that if you go to these charities for your only reason is to get business, usually people feel that, and you're not going to get business. If you should do things that you're passionate about and you want to get involved in, and the business comes with time and effort, and it doesn't come the first time you come to a meeting or, that kind of stuff. It was kind of a natural progression for me. I didn't look for it, but it happened.
Right, exactly.
And I like to give business to people that I do charity with. So I figure they share a passion with me. And so I'm apt to give, and I did earlier in my career, especially a lot of all the different service, people I work with were related to charities I was involved in.
Wow. I think that's amazing advice. So I know you got to go. So just one last question. How do you attract the right kind of tenants to your various buildings?
That's a good question. I guess we try to do a lot of screening and background checks, and just it's kind of the managers have hopefully a good feel for who's going to be a good tenant. And generally the problems that we're having are with older tenants, not usually the newer tenants. Yes, we try to have the best type of process that we can, and then it's a little bit of your gut instinct. Is the person going to be a good citizen at the property? And so it's kind of an art, not a science. Right.
Depends a lot on your experience and just kind of getting a feeling for who's going to be a troublemaker.
Yes, definitely. It's not, you don't know all the time, because some people are good actors and actresses.
Yeah. Have you had any people? I know some of my landlords have told me stories about how people will come in and they're fraudsters. They're giving them counterfeit.
Oh, yes, definitely. In Atlanta, that's a really big problem. And
Great.
some of the stuff that we do uncovers the fraud. They're giving false pay stubs or work information. I think that one of the things that we do in checking people shows that up sometimes.
How are they getting fake credit reports? This is the one magic trick I can't understand.
I don't know, but there's definitely things that you can do to unwind some of that stuff, but not all of it, obviously. But it's definitely prevalent nowadays.
So you do full criminal background checks on everybody?
Yeah, I'm not sure of exactly all the things we do. I just know that we've done something to uncover some of the fraud that people were perpetrating on landlords
before they were able to sign the lease.
Yes, exactly.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's the time to find out.
Yeah, definitely.
After they're in, it's hard to get them out.
It's expensive once they're in.
Yes, definitely is. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on, Mark. This it's invaluable information you have, invaluable experience. Hope everyone really enjoyed it. I thank everyone for tuning in to this second episode of Landlords and Tenants. Hope you had as much fun as we did. And of course, tune into our next episode, which should be coming soon. Of course, if you have any questions about landlord, tenant, real estate, or construction matters, please feel free to reach out to us. The number is 818-661-2420, or you can email me at niv@davidovichlaw.com. That's N as in Nancy, I as in Isaac, V as in Victor, at David, O, V as in Victor, ICHLAW.com. All right. Thanks so much. See you again soon. Thanks so much, Mark. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take it easy.
Thanks.
But I think the most touching question is, why did the war stop?
You've been tuning into Landlords and Tenants with your host, Niv Davidovich. You can find the show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, davidovichlaw.com. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.